Hi, this is Kevin Croke, head coach at UCD Rugby Club. In this series of interviews, in conjunction with club sponsor Crowe, we talk to past and present players who share their memories of the club and how it has impacted their career both on and off the field. In this interview, we catch up with Rob Kearney, who shares his insights on fostering talent and developing relationships, his transition from school into university, onto Leinster, Ireland, the Lions, and onwards now into his role with the Western Force, and how he's sharing his experiences to help them develop their talent. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience coming from Clongowes into UCD, and what was the transition like moving from schoolboy rugby into club rugby?
Yeah, I think it was probably the biggest challenge for me, coming straight out of sporting school, and you're living with your friends and the guys that you play with for effectively the 6 years before that. You've built up really strong relationships, and good bonds with your friends, and then I left Clongowes and you're going to a university where you're meeting all these new people, out of your comfort zone very much. And that was something that I found was a real challenge for me in those first few months, particularly coming into that under-20s team and all these guys that you might have played against throughout the school calendar, or some of them you would have played alongside at schoolboy level. But you're really very much back to square one in terms of building new relationships and forging a new identity as a team and with your teammates.
So Rob, what was your first impression of the club?
Yeah, I think the great thing about it was that it was really inclusive. And, I was playing a year above my age grade with the 20s when I came straight out. So I wouldn't have known too many of the guys. And I was definitely very struck at how inclusive the whole thing was. It was still very professional, and it was something that I really craved coming straight out of school. Was that I wanted to get into an environment where people really cared about the rugby and they wanted to win and they wanted to be successful. A lot of guys come straight out of school and they go to those clubs where rugby is important, but going on the session at the weekend and having your midweek sessions is important too. And that was something that I think really stood to me, was that UCD at the time was very professional, and there was a real onus on winning and making sure that you were preparing as best as you can for the weekend, because that's what I wanted. I just wanted to get into the professional ranks or get into the first team as quickly as I could. And when you've got a group of like-minded guys coming straight out of school who want to perform really good on the rugby field every weekend, it's a pretty powerful place.
So you came from Clongowes into UCD. Can you maybe give us an idea of what that transition was like, playing against or playing with guys that you used to play against, and what you thought of the whole dynamic when you arrived?
Yeah, I think probably the group of the Black Rock boys and Michael's lads are, they're definitely the two stereotypes that you think that, we're not going to build relationships here, and, very much you're like-minded individuals, and we're coming from boarding school up in Kildare. We're never going to be able to forge a team and work together. But it's amazing how quickly you leave all of that to a side, and you get into that environment. And, what I also liked was quite quickly you moved away from what school you played in or what school you were from. You came into the under-20s environment, and all of a sudden now you were a UCD player as opposed to a Clongowes boy or a Black Rock boy. And I think that was really important too.
Rob, as you know, sport has a lot of highs and lows. Are there any moments that stand out for you from your time with the club?
Yeah, there was a few times on both ends of the spectrum. There was times when I thought things are going really well. I'm going to go places here. And then there was definitely a few games where I got sent back from Leinster after a bad game once. Michael Cheika sent me back to play for UCD. And I think we played out in Malahide or somewhere, but I had the worst game of my life. And I thought that I was never going to get back into a Leinster changing room after that. I think the year we won the Macquarie Cup under-20s, that was a really good season. I remember one game against Terenure away. and they played us on a small field. They thought that they were going to try and bully us a little bit, and I was place kicking at the time, and we got so many penalties inside our own half, and we were playing on a tiny field, and I was kicking them over from inside our own 10-meter line, which was nice to be able to do, given that they'd purposely use an under-13s pitch to try and play us on.
A big part of the university experience in rugby is playing in the colours. What are your memories of playing in your first colours?
My first experience of the colours match, well, I'll give you a funny backstory to it. I was in national camp at the time, and Ireland were playing the All Blacks that weekend. I think I was 18 or 19 years of age. Eddie O'Sullivan was the coach at the time. And on the Monday night before he announced his team to play the All Blacks at the weekend, he pulled me aside and said, "Listen, I want to have a chat with you outside." And I was thinking, all right, what is going on here? Am I just about to be named in the team to play the All Blacks? So anyway, we go outside, and he says, "Listen, I've just had a call from the UCD coach, and he wants you to play the colours match at the weekend." So it was funny how the news broke of how I was going to be playing in it. But I loved it. It was a great experience to play it in Donnybrook, a pitch that, was home of Leinster at the time, and schools rugby was always so big there. And to get the win and be 1-from-1 in my colours is something that I'm very proud of.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that. And in terms of your experiences in UCD, how would you say they compare to some of the other teams that you've played on? Leinster, Ireland, and the Lions, and now the Western Force.
I think you get older as you move on, and your role changes within different teams. But I think the basis of it is all very simple, and it's the exact same team. You go into a new environment, and it's just about making friends as quickly and as simply as you can, and forging those new relationships, because you'll never get into a successful environment or be a good team if you don't have a strong foundation of friendship along the way. And when you go out to play, a tough 80 minutes of rugby at the weekend, you simply have to know that the guy on your left and right is going to put it in for you. And if you don't have a friendship or, some sort of a bond when you cross the whitewash, that's not going to happen. And, regardless of what team it is, be it the Lions, like you say, UCD, under 13s rugby, not even in sport, but in business too, it's so important that the very first thing you do is build a strong relationship with your teammates.
So you've moved to Perth. Looks like you're enjoying yourself down there. Maybe give us an idea of what your ambition is for the time that you're there, and how you think your experience as an international and as a British and Irish line can benefit the team that you're playing on down there.
I've been playing professional rugby for 15 years. I've been lucky enough to have been in so many successful teams that have incorporated winning cultures down through the years. I suppose trying to, instill a good culture in there, that guys are comfortable and they understand what it takes to win. And when you're 34 years of age, you do know an awful lot about the game. I've been so lucky to have been coached by some really good coaches down through the years. And I suppose I've surprised myself a little bit coming over here at how much, IP that I actually have picked up over the last 15 years that I'm in a position now to be able to, to help transfer some of that into this new group and lend some, advice where I see fit.
You were recently mic'd up for your debut game with the Western Force. How was that as an experience?
Forwards, don't dip your head. We've got to get 2 around the corner. Right, we're missing those 2, so we're having to go around.
I've done it a few times before. Sky Sports used to do it back in the league a few times. It's the same size as a GPS monitor. You've got a little microphone on the front of your chest, but you don't notice it once the game is up and running. These things are so advanced and small now at the moment that, you don't pay much attention to them.
So one final question for me, Rob. Present company excluded, and you can't say Kevin Croke. Who was the best player you played with in UCD, and who would you have thought was, wow, that guy's going to be really, really good?
I suppose in the back three, you know, I would have played a lot of games with Vaz at the time. And he was just electric, and he was so agile, and there was something, you know, so beautiful about the way that he moved and he ran. You know, and it was so nice after the Russia game in the World Cup last year. The two of us swapped our jerseys and we took a photo together, and they're sort of, you know, back to the forging relationships a little bit again, that you can meet so many years down the line in a World Cup and you still have that bond together. So he would always be one of the guys.